Good morning, guys. It's a beautiful day. We have beautiful light outside, and I just thought I'd do a little video for you about a question that I got on my channel. And the question was, does it make sense to own the Fuji 16 and the Fuji 24mm lens at the same time? And for me, it absolutely makes sense to own both of these lenses. Let me talk about these lenses and what I use them for, and explain why I think it really could make sense for you to own both of these lenses. But first, some coffee. Okay, let's start with the 16 1.4 lens that I have right here. Now this has pretty quickly become one of my favorite lenses. Now the reason is not its build quality. Now that might surprise you, but all of the Fuji lenses have great build quality, so it's not because of that. But I do really like the shape of the lens hood that I got for this. Let me show you the lens hood. This lens hood has such a nice shape, and it feels really heavy and all of that. That's nice. But the good thing about the 16 is its focal length. And of course, I also really appreciate the 1.4 aperture. But you know, I don't use that aperture much for a shallow depth of field, because it's really hard to get a shallow depth of field at such a wide angle. So what I really like to use it for is just to keep my shutter speeds down. And when you use it for macro photography, which is not that real kind of macro that you would get from a real macro lens, but you can get in so close with that lens that it's a really interesting field of view that you can create. So you're really close and you're still wide angle. And that's where you start to get that really shallow depth of field. And it looks so awesome. And that's why I love this lens. So the 16 1.4 is a pretty versatile lens because it's a wide angle lens and it's also kind of a macro shot lens. So I usually use it for landscape photography. You can also use it for street photography, of course. And I really also like to shoot some architectural stuff with that. And you know, the 16 also gives you that visual exercise. Now let me explain that. It gives you a very big field of view, and you get a lot of things in focus as soon as you start to have your subject more than half a meter or 1 meter away. So what you need to do is come up with a very good composition to have an image that's not overloaded with stuff. That can be very hard to do. But it's a really good exercise, so I like to shoot with the 16 a lot. But it's not for everyone. If you're more into portrait photography, it's probably not the lens for you. So the main difference to the 23 lens, and by the way, I got the 23 1.4 version. I have another video on that decision as well, so you might also think about the f2 version, which is also a great lens. But you know, the main difference between these two lenses is that if I would own only one of these, I would really prefer the 23. And the reason is that the 23 is not a wide lens, it's not a tight lens, so it's nothing. It's nothing special. Now that doesn't explain anything, because if it's not really wide, it's not really close, so what is it? It's a really versatile lens. It gives you a field of view that you can use for a lot of things. And the 16 focal length is much more specific. So if you have a job where you need to take photographs of any kind of event, and you were just allowed to take one prime lens, you wouldn't take the 16, because with the 16 you can take good shots of the location, but you cannot get too specific, because if you shoot people with that, it's not that, it's not made for that, for me. So if I like to shoot people, if I like to shoot portraits or situations where people have a conversation and stuff, I wouldn't do it with the 16. I would choose the 23 or maybe upwards. So a good combination that I like to do for these kind of jobs, by the way, is I have two bodies, and on the one body I put the 16, and then on the other one I put the 35 or even the 56. So you can react pretty quickly. So if something happens a few meters away, you don't want to hurry over there. So you take the other camera, and for these general shots where you show the whole situation and the atmosphere of the event, you take the 16. So absolutely it makes total sense to own both of these, depending on your budget, but depending on what you shoot. If you shoot mainly landscape or urban stuff, street photography, why not? It totally makes sense, and it totally depends on your your style of photography, the way you as a person approach things. And if you're more shy, then you might want to have more distance to the things or the people that you shoot, and you would prefer longer focal length. And if you're more into getting contact with the people and you want to see some interaction in your images, then you might want to pick some more kind of wide angle lenses for your photography. Yeah, but don't think in terms of right or wrong. You should rather think about, does it match my style of photography? So these are my thoughts on this particular question, if it does make any sense to own the 16 and the 23 at the same time. I hope it helped you deciding on your next lens. Leave a thumbs up, please. Let me hear in the comments what you think about these two lenses. Do you own them? Do you shoot with them? Or are you thinking about getting one or even both of these lenses? Have a good day. Don't forget to take some pictures. It's much more important than talking about lenses. Have a good one.